Thank you, Paul. Super excited to be here today. We've got an amazing session. We're going to be talking about a digital first approach for fast casual businesses. We have a really exciting guest who's going to be able to share some live tips and tricks and kind of stories from the field. But to kick things off, as Paul mentioned, my name is Travis Bickham. I'm the Vice President of Marketing at Birdeye. At Birdeye, we have the unique privilege of working with 60,000 multi-location local businesses around the country, many of them in the fast casual space. So we get the chance to see a ton of data on what's working and what's not, talk to great customers like Amy, who we're going to meet today. And what we do is we serve as the experience marketing platform for these businesses. So if you think back, 10, 15 years ago, fast casual brands really controlled experiences for customers, right? You would advertise, you would bring them in the door, you would ultimately be knowing exactly how those customers were finding you and how to get more of them. But times have changed. And now experiences actually control our brands in many ways. The conversations that customers are having with each other are online, on social networks, on review sites, and how they're referring, recommending, and reviewing us is somewhat beyond our control without the proper platform. So that's what Birdeye does, is we take that entire experience marketing flywheel and put that all in one platform. So you can be found by the right customers, you can be chosen by those customers, and then ultimately delight them with amazing experiences and keep doing that again and again. So you're able to acquire, retain, and grow revenue. But the thing is, times like these have become challenging for restaurants, right? As we know, COVID-19 has posed a series of headwinds to this industry. 17% of restaurants have closed, and online delivery is becoming a bigger and bigger part of all of our everyday lives, right? It's, from a Morgan Stanley study, I saw that, and this kind of means more and more customers are going to be turning to these delivery apps. And so in some ways, we need to learn to coexist and also to make this a big part of our business playbook, right? A recent headline from the Washington Post said that restaurants are barely surviving because delivery apps are killing them. I don't think that the future is that bleak, right? That's a little bit sensational, but we do want to talk about how we can bring together experience marketing, everything that's always worked great in fast casual, and then also this new world of delivery apps, and use that to create the best business that we can be going forward. So fast casual businesses definitely have an advantage in this, right? They're able to move more quickly, ultimately able to pivot more quickly than a full service counterpart, and better adapt to all of these changes. And so one question that I would pose to the audience that I'm excited to hear feedback on is, what do you think about your digital strategy during this time? I imagine for almost everyone on this call, it's changed considerably over the past 12 to 18 months. And so I want to know, are we doing great? Are we doing okay, but could we be doing better? Or do we definitely have a ton of room for improvement? So really curious to hear what everyone comes back with. I'll share, obviously, throughout this webinar what we're seeing from Birdeye, and Amy will obviously share what the Saxton Group is seeing. But today's conversation is going to be really, really valuable because we are bringing in a true industry expert. And I'm really excited to introduce Amy Dickey, who's the Director of Marketing at the Saxton Group. And Amy, can you hop on and tell us a little bit about yourself and the Saxton Group?
Yeah, you bet. So I'm Amy. I went to the University of Oklahoma in Norman and have pretty much been with the Saxton Group since I graduated. And just a little bit about the Saxton Group is we are a multi-unit restaurant franchisee. So we've been around for a while. So we started in 1982 with just one Mazio's pizza restaurant and quickly grew that portfolio to 50 restaurants. And then in the late 90s, the Mazio's restaurants were sold off, and the Saxton Group decided to focus solely on one brand, which was and is Mcalister's Deli. And so since then, the Saxton Group has quickly grown our footprint kind of across the Midwest. We like to say, we have a footprint along the I-35 corridor. And so we opened our first Mcalister's restaurant in 1999 in Longview, Texas, and we now have over 80 restaurants across 6 states.
Wow, what a success story! I love it. And in your role as director of marketing, which I assume has kind of grown and changed while you've been there, tell us a little bit about what you're focused on and what some of your key initiatives are.
Yeah, definitely. So I started the department back in 2015 and I was like a one woman show. So now I manage 2 employees. We have a social media specialist and a marketing manager who are heavily involved with the Birdeye platform. And then I'm also responsible for any, grand opening, remodel marketing efforts we do, quarterly local restaurant campaigns, and also work very closely with Mcalister's corporate's marketing department in Atlanta.
Excellent. Well, elephant in the room, but I have to ask it because we're all curious. COVID-19, what has that meant for your business and how have you seen that change over the last year?
Yeah, definitely. So, I'm starting to reflect back on it we've almost been a year into this, but I remember that day in March where the NBA said they were canceling their season, and then the next day, sales were down 40% in our restaurants. And so it got even worse from that. For 11 straight weeks, we saw about a 60% sales decline, which is really, really, really scary. But currently, we are kind of seeing the fruit of, our digital initiatives and, the season operators we have in our restaurants. And we're currently seeing around 10% same store sales growth on average each day, which is just phenomenal because before the pandemic, we would consider 2% same store sales growth a success. So it's kind of amazing that, this thing out of our control, this pandemic, came in and completely shifted our business, but somehow we're better off because of it.
That's just fantastic to hear. And I have to imagine that a big driver of that was you were already digitally enabled going into this, to some degree. So can you tell us just a little bit about what was already in place and what you've added over the past year as part of the digital strategy?
Yeah, definitely. So one thing that was really worked out nicely for the Saxton Group is we experimented with these on-the-go pickup cabinets in our restaurants in early 2017. I even remember visiting one restaurant and kind of measuring, the walls and how high it needed to be. And by the end of 2018, we had one of these pickup units in every single one of our restaurants. So for 2 years, our guests were familiar with using these on-the-go shelves, and our operators were familiar with them as well. And then something else we were really fortunate with, on the digital side of things, is we started testing with DoorDash in 2016, and then in early 2018, we had DoorDash in almost every single restaurant. So launching so early, on this third party delivery platform really allowed us to make the channel a profitable one, being able to adjust prices, to accommodate the higher commission fees. And then also, just being on third party delivery so early, the guest was already familiar with us there.
Totally makes sense. And I think you did have to make some renovations though over the past year to the physical spaces. How did
Yes.
that go?
Yeah, so definitely the pandemic really taught us that the way the guest is using us is different. Dine-in business is not the same. And the biggest thing that we've started to look at is adding pickup windows that are essentially function just as a drive-through, except you order ahead of time on the app, and then you swing through, the pickup window lane, and you grab your order at the window from a team member. And so, talking with our co-CEOs, we'll probably never open a restaurant again without a pickup window. Um, and then another thing we're starting to look at when we are able to remodel restaurants, when we remodel, the dining room and the kitchen, we're looking at integrating, a second sandwich line into the back of house that is like specific for those online app third party delivery orders.
Yeah, it's funny how ideas come around again. I remember reading early on in the pandemic that a lot of restaurants in former medieval cities in Italy that had been through plagues and pandemics before had these old school little windows that originally were used for giving people glasses of wine during pandemics so they could keep business going and keep trade turning over. And they
Hmm.
started to use them again. So I guess, here in the States, we're fortunate we can do it new and do it nice, but it's great to see businesses adapting. But understand, obviously, not everything has been perfect the whole time. Can you tell us a little bit about the tablet apocalypse that we talked about and what happened there?
Yeah, so before May, our restaurants were on a handful of third-party delivery platforms. So, DoorDash, Uber Eats, Postmates. And so, as you guys probably already know, like each of those platforms has its individual tablet. And so, in one restaurant, you could have these three third-party delivery platforms and services, and I mean, you've probably seen it happen, but it's like they start dinging, and immediately the team member's attention moves away from the guests into these tablets, and they have to focus on entering the order on the tablet into the point of sale system. And so in May, we were finally able to get these third party partners integrated into our point of sale system, and it has been just incredible weight that's been lifted off from our operators. And if you think about it, long term, just think about like the labor that it's saving, and just what it's doing for your restaurant's hospitality efforts. The team member is able to give that guest the full attention and not the tablet.
Totally makes sense. And it sounds like you guys have really figured a lot of this out. But the thing with third party apps and online ordering is your competition goes from your immediate geographic area to really kind of a broader pool of options for customers to order from. So, how did you think about starting to compete with every restaurant in your area? And what tips do you have for the listeners on how they can be successful with that broader competitive pool?
Yeah, definitely. To really have a successful presence on third party delivery, you have to be strategic about the way you're marketing your restaurant on the platform. And, I've always kind of looked at, third party delivery, it really is an opportunity for people to try your brand for the very first time. And so some of the tips that I encourage you to look at is, like scale back your menu, look at what best represents your brand 45 minutes later. Like look into increasing your beverage sales like through self-serve bottles. And also there's an opportunity to like use the third party delivery bag as a way to direct the guest back over to your brand's individual online ordering app platform. So there's definitely some like little marketing efforts and tweaks that you can make on your third party delivery presence, that are wins for the brand and wins for the guest.
And I think, tell me if you agree or disagree, the goal ultimately, though, is to get those customers ordering from you directly versus the apps, even though those can be a great way to get customers introduced to the brand. But how do help facilitate that transition so customers are coming to you directly? And is that your goal? Am I right about that?
Yeah, definitely. That is a huge focus for my department this year. We're calling it 3PD to 1PD conversions, and it's a completely new concept for us and for the restaurant industry as a whole. And so, we are currently in the middle of running a campaign that is print and then digital, that we hope will get these, third party delivery users over to our app. And one thing that we're in the middle of testing is we came up with this concept of, offering free delivery through our app. And so right now, our team members are putting this free delivery ticket. It looks like a Willy Wonka golden ticket in every third party order. And so that's just one of the things that we're trying to hopefully get that user over to our platform and get them to stay on our platform. That's going to be a challenge of ours too. Is like, hey, we may get them over one time for one order. but then, what set of campaigns and follow-ups, do we need to do to keep them on, the Mcalister's Deli app?
Excellent. And it sounds like you're getting pretty creative with marketing now. And we talked about this a little bit, but you had to cut back on some of the more traditional channels that you'd relied on in the past. What did you get rid of, in 2020? And then the golden ticket, awesome example of, creativity going forward. But just, in general, the loyalty program and everything else you're doing, where are you investing now?
Yeah, so currently, the offers and campaigns and promotions that are going on within the Mcalister's Deli app is what we're largely focusing on. The Mcalister's Deli app launched in February of 2020, so we were very fortunate that it launched 1 month before the pandemic. But the new app is really great, very seamless, user friendly. It's based on a point system where you get 10 points for every dollar you spend. And then, 500 points can be redeemed for a free beverage or a kid's meal. 1,000 points can be redeemed for a free side or dessert. And then 1,500 points can be redeemed for a free entree. And then we're also using the app to kind of, promote new menu items. So currently we have the capability to issue a guest a rewards deposit where we have just put a $1 offer off of a bowl of chicken noodle soup into their app. No, the guest didn't have to opt into anything or sign up for anything. It was just automatically deposited into their smartphone. And then another thing that we are currently testing is this tea subscription model that we're calling our Tea Pass. And so for $6.99, you can get a daily free tea. And the Saxton Group tested this out for a year in 2020. And we saw that about 50% of the time, when a guest came in for their daily free tea, there was an attachment rate associated with the transaction. So, half of the time the guest was coming in to get a free product, they were actually making a transaction.
I love it. I love it. That is so creative. Such a good example. One other question that comes to mind for me is now that you have every location taking digital orders, there's bound to be some friction as staff adapts to this new reality. How are you dealing with the customer experience side of this whole new digital component across, 80 locations?
Yeah, definitely. We're really fortunate here at the Saxton Group that our operators are really top notch. We have this promote from within culture. And so almost every single general manager has worked every position in the restaurant. They were team members, shift managers, assistant managers before being promoted. And then we also have, this operational tier to where, a regional director oversees 6 to 9 general managers. And then above the regional director is our chief operating officer, Stephen Lee, who oversees those regional directors. So really kind of establishing this, strong operational tier and structure has allowed the Saxton Group to handle all of, the guest complaints and issues and errors that can come with, what we've had to deal with in the pandemic and, on the technology side.
And how do you incorporate that feedback quickly?
Yeah, so we use Birdeye, which is a really great platform that we use to monitor reviews. And one really benefit of Birdeye is you can set up email notifications specific to each restaurant. So each time, let's say for example, a negative review is left for our Wichita Falls, Texas location. So the general manager is getting that review notification email. The regional director is, our chief operating officer is, and then myself and then my 2 employees are. So you're talking, anywhere from 5 pairs of eyeballs that every single, review, both positive and negative, coming through that people in our company are seeing.
Got it. Got it. And I know even before the pandemic, you were taking data and feedback from reviews and applying that to things like pricing. Can you tell us about that a little bit?
Yeah. So, before we really, notice trends, with our sales data, we often hear about, the complaint or the error from the guests before it affects our sales. And so the example that really comes to mind for me is in April 2018, we decided to increase the price of our dining kids meals from 99 cents to $1.99, and the response was like very negative and negative quickly. And we really saw, the feedback about the negative price change, on Birdeye first, from the guests first. And then a few weeks later, we started to see it in the sales data, because before the price change, on average, a 99 cent, dining kids meals could be tied to a $10 adult entree purchase. So when we increased the price of those dining kids meals to $1.99, we ended up losing that $10 entree purchase. And so, we're really fortunate that, really Birdeye kind of caught it first. And then the sales data backed it up too. And so in April of 2019, I think, we reverted back to those 99 cent dining kids meals, and the sales have returned.
Well, it all sounds delicious. I can even hear my dog moving around. He's now thinking about getting his paws on a kid's meal. But last question for me, kind of like the big one. What would you leave the audience with? What can fast casual businesses be doing during this pandemic to adapt to the new digital environment? If you were to just give a couple of key points, what would it be?
Yeah, definitely. Be anywhere the customer wants you to be. Customers want what they want, when they want it, and how they want it. And start thinking about what technology is in the equipment that you're already using, or that you already have that you're not using yet. Look at third party delivery. Seek POS integration, and look at everything on the platform and make it a profitable channel. It is possible. And then be data driven. Look at how do you get it, how do you organize the data, and then how do you use it to benefit your business. And then one thing we've really learned is make it a priority to bring operations into your marketing programs. Everything is interconnected, and collaboration really is key. And the last thing that I like to tell people is that just remember that we have a notable purpose. We feed people.
That is so true. That is so true. Well put. Well, Amy, thank you so much. It was fantastic to chat with you and learn about how the Saxton Group has continued to achieve so much success even during these difficult times. And I hope the webinar was helpful to everyone who tuned in. Thank you so much for joining us. If you're interested in hearing more about Amy's story or learning about Birdeye, please reach out to us. You can contact Stephanie from our team. She'll get you connected with a Birdeye experience marketing specialist who can help you solve your customer experience issues and ultimately turn those experiences into revenue. And I appreciate everyone joining us. Thank you. Have a great day.